It's just the universe telling me, shut the fuck up. Hello there, you wonderful web-wandering beasts. Brandon Valentine, the pretentious Fiend here, and today, very excited to review the new King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard album, LW. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard are of course an extremely prolific band and have a really interesting habit of delving into each album as an entire theme. Things like Murder the Universe, which are an exercise in storytelling, and Infest the Rat's Nest being a thrash album. And I wait here with bated breath to see the entirety of what LW is presenting. So without further ado, before we get too far in the review, make sure that you like, share, subscribe, click the bell, and make sure to keep this a smile and stop me from delving into a deep dark pit of self-hatred and wallowing like a miserable hippo in mud because I'm fat. We kick straight off into this album with If Not Now, Then When. Straight away we're met with that really aggressive and unique guitar tone that Giz use a lot, which is that harsh cocked wah with like a high pass filter that is just really piercing and extreme, but it is nasty and snorty in kind of all the right places. And the first thing your ear definitely notices is the use of more microtonal things again. The pseudo out of tune space between the notes that we don't really delve into much in Western music. But then from there, instead of building up and rocketing off into some sort of Nonagon Infinity style punkish psych track, we're dropped into this glitched out Stevie Wonder kind of surprise, these kind of syncopated Detroit jazz harpsichord tones with some gentle falsetto vocals that really depict acting in the face of insurmountable odds, which is a theme we've heard quite a bit from Giz over the past couple of albums. When the blue sky turns into black, when Gaia hangs by a thread, when all people die, if not now, then when. Kicking into tracks like One, we're met with that same sort of Detroit jazz chord structure, but starting off with Ambrose's lonely and haunting harmonica. When it builds, it goes into some classic 13th floor elevator style Giz energy, except it's got this certain mature patience about it. There's a little more space between the notes, there's a little more breadth, which I find a really nice development. Of course, in classic Giz fashion, the vocals follow these guitar riffs like glue, and they start to go off into some really interesting Eastern and Indian scales. And I do love that guitar break where everything comes back down and you have this kind of odd polyrhythmic chant that starts to build up and give weight to the next movement in the song. But on to the single that we've all been hearing as of late, Pleura. For those of you who don't know, pleura is actually basically like the skin within your lungs. I fucking love this track. Straight off the bat, unabashedly, I love this song because to me it actually encompasses a lot of the best and most exciting parts of Gizdom and puts it very seamlessly all together in one track. That metal and punk grit mixed with a knowledge of music from different cultures and different ethnicities with a good dose of 60s hippie psych pop within it, but with these very Sabbathy style lyrics about necromancers, death, and of course, breath and the pleura within you, the lungs within you, your organs, your sausage, mate. One's mind really does wonder as to whether there's a COVID attachment to this song. Supreme Ascendancy kicks off with these really killer breakbeat style drums and does something that Giz, in my mind, doesn't do enough, which is the vocals taking off and not following the guitar riff and actually becoming their own individual instrument, because it allows the song to ebb and flow and fall and rise in some really wonderful and dynamic ways. Whilst I can imagine a lot of other Giz fans will not enjoy the chorus in this track because it is thicker, greasier, and still simpler than a lot of other Giz hooks, this chorus just slaps. It has weight, it has size to it, and the much more simple guitar and bass elements give great room to the vocals, but also this kind of very Eastern Chinese style instrumentation that goes on in the background. All in all, this track has this huge Ambrose and Murlock's kind of stamp and flavor to it. I can definitely feel that he would have been instrumental in the construction of this song. But really, by the track Static Electricity, we're seeing this album's real theme, which is a big exploration back into that microtonal and bağlama Turkish music, Turkish pop music of yesteryear and Turkish rock music of yesteryear. But it really reminds me of the track TSARKA. But there is a link below, please go have a listen to this so you'll definitely get a full understanding of what I mean. This is a proper delve into what psychedelia can and should be. It's a quite forward-thinking psychedelia, and I really appreciate this track. And all of this acting as this really bizarre, eclectic bed to these apocalyptic descriptions of a ill-fallen event, of some catastrophic event. But speaking of catastrophic events, we move on to the track East-West Link. That sounds like I didn't like the song, but that's not what I meant. We'll get there, trust me. These tracks melt together perfectly from one to the other, and we're met with this really hypnotic, pulsing sway of a song, yet with lyrics that really depict humanity's detachment from nature. But more specifically, it points directly to an event that occurred last year. Last year in Melbourne, the city that both myself and King Giz reside in, a highway started construction, the East-West Link. And in order to begin construction on this road, the government and the companies that were involved in this construction mercilessly, carelessly, and in my mind very fucking deliberately, destroyed sacred indigenous sites that were absolutely pivotal to the culture of the Jabrawan people. It was an awful event. It was a horrid piece of shit thing for the Victorian government to do. It's a despicable thing for the Victorian government to do. Always was and always fucking will be. So moving on from this really serious subject matter that we've delved into here, we move on to the track Atraxia. The track Atraxia. Oh, that is just phonetically pleasing. This kicks into gear with that time signature that Giz have used a lot, and I hope they continue to use a lot, which is a bar of 7/4 and then a bar of 8/4, or one big fat old bar of 15/4. Oh, whatever I just did was fucking creepy, and I apologize to humanity for it existing. Where we've heard this time signature on albums like Nonagon Infinity before, frantic and at full pace, when it's slowed down a little bit, it gives it this real Tool swing, something that I am not unhappy about whatsoever. With all the delicious fuzz and delicious juice that is absolutely dripping from this track, this ends up being one of my favorites on the album. The track See Me really dives unabashedly into this microtonal and Turkish tone. But when I listen to this song, I'm definitely hearing a sped up version of the track Ikimiz Fidanız. Yet again, another really interesting Turkish track that I will absolutely link below. And I actually think that this genre and this era in Middle Eastern music is a really direct reference on this album, and I can't help but think, what a sorely underused and sorely underappreciated style of music. But it all comes to a close with KGLW. This absolutely warranted a fucking stank face. Middle Eastern stoner psych doom that has been solidly tuned down and has some minor second chaos chords and reverse minor third chords. This is absolutely the heaviest I've ever heard, Giz, and it just has these repetitive lyrics of KGLW. This isn't what I came to this album for, but it is absolutely what ensured that I came. All in all, this album is a really fucking insane listen. It is a beautiful blend of a lot of different tones, most notably psychedelic and bağlama and that 70s Turkish pop and rock. This album has a lot of very strong Gizisms, if you want to say it that way, that are thrown at the wall and seeing what sticks. My only meh kind of moments on this album are the first two tracks, because they don't fully and as potently state their purpose on this album as much as the rest of it, from Plura onwards. But I will say, and I will give it to it, that this album intentionally builds from something a bit more pokey, bizarre and subtle through to just girth-tastic meat bus on heat. But most importantly, you go have a listen, come back and let me know what you think in the comments, and we shall discuss, we shall debate. We can even hurtle insults at each other. That can be fun for a weekend. Brandon Valentine, the pretentious fiend here. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, do all the things. Yes, calls to actions. Oh, social media people who ask you to do things. The most surefire way to know someone is an insecure twat. I'll see you guys next time and make sure that for goodness sake you stay filthy.